And when we look to, let's say, this that we name the body, there are all sorts of clues into the nature of reality. So this sense of the heart as the Big Bang, the heart being a pointer into direct experience. So when I speak about the heart, I don't mean this heart in the body. And yet there is a collective, in the collective imagination of the body, that this experiences, this actuality experiences through its interpretive functionality, let's say. It's like there's this clue of coming into the heart. And when we experience this beauty, it's a collapsing of mind. It's a collapsing of the two-ness. It's the path of perception, the path of the heart, the path of beauty. Opening into beauty, the aperture is like a window into beauty that opens when the idea of there being a me and a you that are separate bottoms out, because it's just an idea, it's just a thought.
You're listening to the Fundamentally You podcast. My name is Amy Ward, non-dual psychologist, therapist and mentor at thegreenlighttolive.com. In this episode, I share with you a talk from our non-duality Zoom group, where we explore together the nature of experience. This exploration was entitled The Beauty of Bottoming Out and the Heart as the Big Bang.
I think when we approach beauty, think about beauty, or seek beauty, the mind, and we get an expression of this a lot within our culture, of seeking preference. And there's something intuitive about this, in the sense of there's a noticing of difference. There's a noticing of diversity and difference within the expression of the experiential field. But this difference, this appearance of difference and diversity, is not about better than or worse than. The mind tends to chop things up, and not only chop things up, but give certain levels of importance or weight and measure to apparent aspects of experience. But beauty, the beauty of this unconditional beauty that's inherent to the expression of this that we experience, is in the equanimity of experience, of all experience. And it's it's so wildly diverse and constantly changing, incredibly dynamic. But this beauty that is the equanimity of this is a felt sense that arises out of the depth. And I don't mean depth as in going deep somewhere else. I mean this depth. And something I point to regularly in these talks is that we don't need to go deep, but recognize that we're already in the deep, as this. And it's this neutrality. Out of this neutrality, as a full field of experience arises, that we experience the beauty. We feel the beauty. When we're no longer saying that some things are the beauty and some things aren't. That some things are heaven, some things are hell. Now, these words are just pointers, but in terms of looking into the non-dual nature of reality, can sometimes be mistaken, often, maybe through mystical experiences, or just where there's that aperture and the recognition that beyond words, when experiencing beyond words, this looks and feels like heaven, this radiance. And then the opposing side of the coin being the hell and the heat of the experiencing of mind and sense of separation. It can make us seek these experiences more and more. Like we've got to try and get out of mind. We've got to try and stop the interpretation happening. But this recognition, this is about seeing this apparent normal reality through the experiencing of what we might call earth, through the experiencing of the body, and recognition of all of the full field of experiencing as being expression of body-mind. So it's not about getting rid of body or trying to transcend body, but it's about looking into the ideas of body and what body is. The way that I kind of experience this display, this beautiful display of appearances, it's like a kind of switchboard, like a clues in the illusion through the experience of interpretation that look into the nature of this actuality, this perceiver. Now it's a bit romantic, it's a bit poetic, but it is a pointer. That in everything, there is everything. The whole, the totality in all experience. And when we look to, let's say, this that we name the body, there are all sorts of clues into the nature of reality. So this sense of the heart is the Big Bang. The heart being a pointer into direct experience. So when I speak about the heart, I don't mean this heart in the body. And yet there is a collective, in the collective imagination of the body, that this experiences, this actuality experiences through its interpretive functionality, let's say. It's like there's this clue of coming into the heart. Coming into the heart to experience directly. It's an invitation into direct experience. This is my interpretation. Through experience, like it's a kind of fractalized expression of this one single perceiver that is here right now experiencing experience. So that's the heart, is the Big Bang, the perceiving, the constant perceiving of this explosion of this moment in its immediacy. Because this is just here. It's just effortlessly here. Have you ever had to do anything for your field of experience to be here? There might be ideas of a someone doing something, moving through the world, acting upon the world. Sure, and yes, there's a lot of interpretation around that overlays experience. What's that pointing to about the nature of this? We can look into all experience, including interpretation, and when we look into it with an openness and a curiosity, first of all, to question what the interpretation about what it is that's happening here is, like, just be open to wondering. Be open to not knowing. And then looking into this that is here, experiencing experience right now, the very experiencing of experience that you are experiencing right now is it. It is this. And when we experience this beauty, it's a collapsing of mind. It's a collapsing of the two-ness. It's a path of perception, path of the heart, the path of beauty. opening into beauty, the aperture. It's like a window into beauty that opens when the idea of there being a me and a you that are separate bottoms out, because it's just an idea, it's just a thought. It's like you go to the top of a mountain or see an opening on a beach, and there's that awe, and there's a collapsing because you feel the vastness and the majesty of what's here, of this. And there's a disappearance of the sense of separation in those moments, you know. There's a character that's been thinking that they're reading the map, getting to the top of the hill or whatever it is, getting to the top of the mountain, drops the map, bottoms out the map, and just goes, ah, this. The amazing, beautiful gift is that this isn't reserved for tops of hills and beautiful seascapes. This very experiencing here right now is this. So this beauty of bottoming out is a bottoming out of thought in every moment. And I'm not talking about trying to get rid of thought, but including the experience of the thought field in your exploration. Instead of looking to what it says, what thought is saying about experience, but feeling into the texture of the experience of thought itself. We can do a lot in the non-dual exploration around looking into the nature of thought, recognizing thought for what it is, recognizing interpretation for what it is. And the most powerful way of doing this is through the felt sense. It's sensing into interpretation. So we get a vibe of what it kind of feels like. And the more we recognize, the more bottoms out of what we think we know. It's astounding how much we think we know. The beauty of the stars and the sun and the moon, the sea, beauty of the room, what your beautiful things that you have in your room that you love. But it's all interpretation. The stars are interpretation, the sun's interpretation. This is all interpretation. but to feel into the equanimity, the depth. It's to look into what is it that is present in all experience. Whether it's euphoric, dysphoric, dancing in the rain, doing a bungee jump, grieving a loved one. This incredible diversity of experience. What is it that's always present? What is it that remains unaffected? Look into experience right now. I say look into only to point you to here, to bring attention to this that's here. Any sense of efforting and looking into, just notice that sensation. And notice the sensation of looking into is also effortlessly arising. Notice the effortlessness. Notice that although this is a field of light, sound, taste, touch, feeling, thought, look all around you. Just notice how effortlessly you are experiencing this appearance. All these patterns and shapes. The way different things are apparently standing out from other things. Looking like they're in position to each other, relative to each other in different ways. This great display rendered in this play of light. And how effortlessly this is arising. Noticing that This all registers in awareness all at once, effortlessly. Without needing to say what it is. And that commenting effortlessly arises too, just as part of the display. So effortlessness is a great equalizer. Not as a doing, but as a noticing. When we're commenting and interpreting and focusing in on that effortlessness is a good pointer back to this that is here, that is always here. Open and clear. And notice the sensation, any sensation that's arising that says, this is where I am, this is where I'm located in the field of experience. Just notice the sensation. This that it effortlessly arises in the field of being. And notice from the effortlessness from this clear, totally clear, totally invisible, yet absolutely here. Whatever it is that all of this is appearing in. This is one perceiving. This that is experiencing, this that is perceiving itself directly. Is also perceiving the sense of there being a separate perceiver. This is being perceived by the one perceiver that is here. This is absolutely being perceived. It's undeniable that you're perceiving. what's not true, or what's taken as interpretation of experience, through interpretation of experience, is that you are a perceiver standing separate from experience, looking at experience. This perceiving, this nature of experience is not standing back somewhere looking at experience. This experiences in itself directly through its display of itself. So whenever you're looking or exploring experience, it's not really about what it is that's being experienced, but what is it that's experiencing? What is it that's looking? What's this intelligence that's perceiving all of this? You don't find this what somewhere else looking like it's sitting somewhere back from experience either. Detached, but it's detached in the sense of it's totally engaged but unaffected by experience. It's wide open depth, shimmering. Now, when we be through feeling into effortlessly the experiential field, I also including any sensation that arises that suggests that there is a someone sitting separate. That's about including, feeling into, and belonging. But as we start to notice more and more that that sound is being heard by itself, that that taste is being tasted by itself, that that feeling is being felt by itself, we recognize a really deep intimacy and this beautiful explosion of grace. And it's this, it's not another experience. Simply the recognition there is not a separate perceiver, and upon this recognition that there isn't a someone that is distant from whatever it is that's being perceived, and we recognize that hearing is way more than something that's happening from the ears to a sound that's apparently out there, but rather that the heart and fullness of the whole cosmos is reverberating through that sound. and then it's gone. And the next sound, and then it's gone. This appearance, this light, and then it's gone. And then again, the next light show, and then it's gone. All the same thing, nothing else happening but this. And this is the beauty and the bottoming out of the thoughts that are saying that I am separate from this, or that is a sound out there, that is a someone over there. And this collapsing into this zero distance experience. And it's not something to work hard for, hence this pointing to effortlessness. It's in the effortlessness. The surrender, the bottoming out, it's bottoming out into the effortlessness of this. Coming back to just the simple sense of existence, this sense of existence that's here, this aliveness that's here. When you feel this aliveness, it's not like it's starting in the body and then stopping somewhere else. It's aliveness that you're experiencing. It's very obvious, evident aliveness of being. Isn't starting and ending somewhere. It's not birthing and then disappearing. This full field of experience is this absolute aliveness, showing up in different ways, taking shape in different ways. But it's all this same aliveness. Knowing itself and exploring itself in this way. So we can play in exploring the experiential field through this idea, these questions around who's perceiving and what is this? What is this experiencing? What is it? And we can play with thought too. And that could be really, really fun. You start to feel into the texture of thought. Like different movements in the thought feels like little whirlpools that you can kind of drop through the middle of them. Like a little roller coaster. You feel the subtlety, the dynamism of the thought field. It's including everything. It's including the beauty in everything. Including everything as this beauty. And this is the power when we take this understanding to look into our experience of suffering. Because in the recognition of this equanimity and the beauty that is the simple perceiving of experience, regardless of experience, then we can explore our experience of suffering in a totally different way. There's a natural belonging to this exploration where we can return to our experience of the felt sense of separation. And the struggles. And in this radical belonging, this equanimity, we can embrace the differentiated experience of what we might call the body-mind. And it's a natural turning the torch on in the dark. And we look into our experience in this way. We seek bliss, and bliss is something that we look for quite a lot on this path. And there can be misinterpretations around this too, I guess. Bliss is the nature of this aliveness. Full field of bliss. And the body as an expression of the bliss that is here. And the more that we can go into direct experience with sensation, just in the same way as I was speaking about sound, and recognizing that the sound is perceiving itself, we can do the same with the experience within the body. And we might feel tension, hardness in the body, pain in the body. It's not about getting rid of it, and it's not about trying to change it, but through going into direct experience is a whole different kind of experiencing of that. And it becomes clearer and clearer. It's not something to be fixed, but something to be interested in, to be experienced, to be explored. So it belongs. This is the bliss, beauty, and belonging. So in this equanimity and this collapsing of two-ness and separation, we recognize that there is this beauty in all experience. Move beyond preference of how I want to be feeling right now or how I want life to be looking right now. And that's a radical belonging. So instead of trying to accept, because we've learned that if we accept, then we won't reject. We effortlessly notice this that already belongs. It's already here. We don't need to try to make something belong. Notice that everything is already here in radical belonging. Just check out in your own experience. Let's take 5 minutes just for you to check out in your own experience what is feeling like there might be resistance to something in experience or aspect of experience. Don't try to accept it, but effortlessly notice that it effortlessly already belongs. Yeah, I think the recognizing that this already belongs is a big one. I think it can be a big one for all of us. You know, we hear a lot about acceptance. I always say, you know, we don't have to try to accept it when we're sat on a beach with a cocktail, do we? we're only going into trying to accept when we're really already rejecting it completely. You know. And that is all part of this, you know, it all belongs. That's already been permitted. The resistance is permitted, you know. The trying to accept is permitted while secretly rejecting, or not so secretly rejecting, is all already permitted. Any pattern in experience that we feel has been time bound or something that we feel has been consistently here as myself, something that feels personal to me. It's still mattering and that it's still in its patterning. Everything just wants to be completely itself as this, to be recognized as the full field. and its timeless, spaceless being. And that means no limitation on how long it is here, how big or little it is. Everything's included in the garden. Not just included, but it's celebrated. Everything. All this. I'll just finish with the quote from Neil Donald Walsh. This is from Conversations with God. Must you know that yours will be a better picture before you pick up a brush and paint? Can it not simply be another picture, another expression of beauty? Must a rose be better than an iris in order to justify its existence? I tell you this, you are all flowers in the garden of the gods. Should we turn the garden under just because one flower is no more beautiful than another? You have done exactly that, and then you lament, where have all the flowers gone? You are all notes in the celestial symphony. Shall we decline to play the music because one note is no more crucial than another? But what if one note is a sour note? Does the sour note not spoil the symphony? That depends on who's doing the listening. There's so much in there about this diversity of expression and the way the mind chops up, interprets, and measures based on better for worse or worse. And because we can't find or think as a separate entity that we can be the best, or we feel like we're the worst, we feel like we're not good enough, we turn over the whole garden. We say none of it, because we can only experience this when we recognise the differentiation and the equanimity of all differentiated experience. And this can only be truly seen and experienced through this seeing as one single perceiver, which is what's always happening. is you got to include yourself in all the ways that you experience yourself through sensation. Sensation allows for, or you notice through sensation, all of the differentiation whilst everything's still being. So in bliss, beauty and belonging, what could be a more beautiful way to show something that it belongs here than to engage with it so closely and directly, to look into its nature and find that this too is made of bliss, the creative principle that expresses essence to form. Is what appears as the cosmos. That is your full field of experiencing.